armas nucleares. Esperamos que el encuentro pueda realizarse prontamente y que sea una oportunidad para reafirmar su relevancia. Y aquí es fundamental avanzar en pasos concretos para los que este foro adquiere singular relevancia, como lo es a través de la entrada en vigor del Tratado por la Provisión Completa de Ensayos Nucleares y las negociaciones para arribar a un tratado sobre la producción de material fisionable. No obstante ello, nada será suficiente si no contamos con una clara demostración de avanzar en ese sentido por parte de los estados poseedores de armas nucleares. Señora Presidenta, la Argentina sostiene permanentemente una posición de claro apoyo al establecimiento y consolidación de zonas libres de armas nucleares. En ese sentido, la contribución del Tratado de Tlatelolco ha sido real y efectiva, constituyendo a América Latina y el Caribe como la primera zona libre de armas nucleares. Este tratado fortaleció nuestra posición regional con la no proliferación y el desarme. Con todo, aún queda mucho por hacer a fin de lograr un cumplimiento efectivo de las obligaciones establecidas en el tratado. Por ello, mi país ha sido siempre explícito en la solicitud de los estados poseedores de armas nucleares a que retiren las declaraciones interpretativas de los protocolos, los que van en contra del objeto y fin de dichos instrumentos. En nuestro caso, y como ha sido reconocido por las Naciones Unidas en numerosas resoluciones, existe una disputa de soberanía entre mi país y el Reino Unido sobre las Islas Malvinas, Georgias del Sur, Sandwich del Sur y los espacios marítimos circundantes, que debe ser resuelta de forma pacífica y negociada. Esta situación se ve agravada por la presencia militar británica que contraviene la resolución 41/11 de la Asamblea General de las Naciones Unidas, que reconoce la región del Atlántico Sur como zona de paz y de cooperación. Esa presencia debe interpretarse a la luz de las revelaciones que mencioné anteriormente sobre armamento nuclear en la zona. En este contexto, la Argentina renueva su compromiso con la agenda de seguridad a nivel global y reafirma su disposición a trabajar para que esta conferencia brinde los aportes sustantivos que nuestro mundo, como es notorio, necesita de manera apremiante. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, señor ministro. Suspendo la reunión para despedir al señor ministro Cafero y darle la bienvenida al Lord Ahmad, ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de la United Kingdom. No.
Thank you, Madam President. Last year, the United Kingdom published our integrated review of security, defence, foreign and development policy. It set out very clearly that the deteriorating security environment was a deep concern. it flagged the risks posed by new disruptive technologies, alongside long-standing proliferation concerns about the activities of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and Iran. However, it also pointed out the growing challenge for major nuclear-armed states willing to flout international norms of behavior. Let me be absolutely clear from the outset, Madam President. Russia's recent, unprovoked, and horrific attack on Ukraine casts a dark shadow over the work of this very conference, because the security environment sets the context for what can be achieved on disarmament. As I told the UN General Assembly only last week, the United Kingdom is absolutely unwavering in its support for Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. Together, we must all unequivocally condemn this Russian aggression, which is a direct violation of international law and also of the UN Charter. As the UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss set out in her speech in Ukraine on the 17th of February, in order to achieve a safer world, it is now vital that the international community comes together to recommit itself to arms control. In doing so, we must strengthen our existing security frameworks. We must refresh our thinking so we are prepared for the challenges, but also the opportunities of the 21st century. Strengthening the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons as the cornerstone of the international nuclear architecture is an important place to start. This year, we look forward to the long-awaited 10th Review Conference to the NPT, which offers an opportunity to reflect on the successes of the treaty and its central role in keeping our world safe over the last 52 years. From our perspective in the United Kingdom, although the world has changed significantly since 1970, the United Kingdom's commitment to the NPT and fulfilling our obligations under all three pillars of the treaty remains undiminished. We believe the NPT continues to play a central role, a pivotal role, in promoting long-term stability, peace, and security. The United Kingdom therefore wants to work with all state parties in the coming months to build the momentum for a successful review conference. In October, we published our national report outlining the steps the UK has taken to implement its commitments across all three pillars of the NPT since 2015. The report sets out the progress the United Kingdom has made on disarmament, including our leading role in nuclear disarmament verification and in championing transparency, and importantly also in advancing risk reduction. We have also pressed for significant steps towards multilateral disarmament, including the entry into force of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty and beginning negotiations on a fissile material cut-off treaty. The UK also recognises our responsibility to cooperate very closely with other NPT nuclear weapon states in order to make progress on disarmament and risk reduction. This work is vital and even more important in periods of heightened international tension, as we see now. The Joint Leaders' Statement on the Prevention of Nuclear War in January of this year was an important signal of our collective commitment, signed by all, to affirm that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought, and that nuclear weapons, for as long as they continue to exist, should serve defensive purposes, deter aggression, prevent war. We want to build on this landmark statement by deepening our work within the P5 process on reducing the risk of nuclear conflict through misinterpretation and miscalculation, and also in enhancing mutual trust and global security. Building this foundation will be an important step in realizing our shared long-term goal of a world without nuclear weapons. Madam President, the world is facing an extremely challenging global situation in the Ukraine. Therefore, it is with deep regret that I reflect on the comments made by Foreign Minister Cafero of Argentina on the Falklands conflict that took place. But let me be absolutely clear. We will reply formally to the statement made. But our sovereignty of the Falklands is clear. The United Kingdom is and will retain and undiminished in its sovereignty of the Falkland Islands. And I hope our Argentinian friends hear that message very clearly. Madam President, moving to 2022 as a year of opportunity. As I said earlier, there are opportunities we must collectively avail ourselves of. We should look towards strengthening the NPT. 2022 is a year of wider opportunities and challenges for the multilateral disarmament architecture. The prevention of an arms race in outer space is also an important issue today, as it was in the 1980s, when it first became an agenda of this very conference. But the nature of the challenge has evolved considerably in that time, and we need to ensure that discussions and negotiations keep pace with those developments. The United Kingdom is delighted to see the progress we have all made through the UN General Assembly on tackling threats in, to, and through space. There was overwhelming support to set up an open-ended working group to look at responsible space behaviors in support of our overarching objective of preventing an arms race in outer space. We all rely on space systems for our prosperity and security, and equally we must work together to protect them from state threats. The United Kingdom promotes responsible space behaviors to reduce the chances of misunderstanding and escalation that could lead to conflict. We are also pleased to see scheduled discussions on the prevention of an arms race in outer space at this very conference. We also welcome calls to ban the testing of direct ascent anti-satellite missiles that create long-lived debris. This conference, Madam President, can play an important role in negotiating how this would work. But we must not forget that many of the threats we face are not as visible as missiles. There are other ways to degrade and damage space systems, such as lasers and jammers, and we will include these in our work as well. We also support greater openness and communication between states. In the spirit of openness, the UK will present our new defence space strategy to this conference in the coming weeks. And we encourage all states to publish their own military space strategies so we can better understand each other. 2022 is also a year of challenges for the control of chemical and biological weapons, where the dangers have not been dissipated. But there are also opportunities. Let's look towards the global stage. Syria remains defiant in its refusal to abide by its obligations on chemical weapons. In April, the international community underscored its abhorrence of Syria's use of chemical weapons by suspending Syria's voting rights and privileges in the OPCW, as provided for in the Chemical Weapons Convention. We must hold fast. We must come together in our core principles, defend the integrity of the Chemical Weapons Convention and the OPCW, and hold those who use chemical weapons fully accountable. The Russian Federation has continued to fail to answer the international community's questioning about the poisoning of their own citizen. I am, of course, referring to the courageous Alexei Navalny, who was poisoned directly with a Novichok nerve agent. Russia has the opportunity to explain what happened, cease disinformation, and declare any chemical weapons program. The COVID-19 pandemic, after all, has shown us the harm that disease can wreak on all our societies. It knows no barriers. We should grasp the opportunity of the upcoming review conference of the Biological Weapons Convention and strengthen the provisions that ensure current and future life sciences are used only for peaceful purposes. Full implementation of commitments under the Convention will keep us all safer, as will steps to make the Convention more effective, visible, and relevant. The United Kingdom also recognizes the extraordinary potential that technology has for global prosperity, but we also acknowledge the potential for misuse. We are focused on ensuring that existing counter-proliferation regimes remain effective in light of technological development. We are also committed to working with our international partners to develop standards and principles for the deployment of critical technologies. And together, we must inject new energy into the work of the group of governmental experts looking at lethal autonomous weapon systems. We should aim to make tangible progress through 2022. The United Kingdom will signal a clear path to achieving this at the upcoming meeting in March. In addition to this work, the United Kingdom's commitment to the humanitarian goals of disarmament remains unwavering. As presidency of the Convention on Cluster Munitions, the UK is concerned about reports of the use of cluster munitions in the current conflict taking place in Ukraine. Therefore, under our presidency, we are intensifying work to achieve universal ratification of this important and vital treaty. In coordination with our Nigerian and Swiss partners, we will host a regional universalization ratification workshop in Abuja later this month to exchange ideas and best practices and bolster further support for this important convention. Since 2018, the United Kingdom has invested approximately £146 million to save lives, limbs and livelihoods from the scourge of land mines, cluster munitions and the explosive remnants of war. This work includes clearing and releasing land for productive use and delivering risk education for communities still living with the deadly legacy of conflict. We will continue this work with the next phase of our global mine action program. But even with the significant investment that the United Kingdom and indeed other donors have made over the years, the scale of the challenge dwarfs the funds available from these sources. And that is why, alongside our direct contribution, the United Kingdom has further funded research into innovative financing options for mine action. And we will continue to explore this, discuss this, including through hosting a conference in March with the aim to pilot an alternative finance model in due course. Madam President, to conclude, 2022 presents us with incredibly significant challenges. Indeed, today, as we sit here in this very conference, those challenges are all too clear with the conflict in Ukraine. But also there are new opportunities to find creative solutions, to make our world safer and more prosperous. That's what our citizens ask of us. That is what we should all aim for. This conference has a key role to play as the world's single multilateral negotiating forum on disarmament. The United Kingdom is pleased with our collective decision to establish subsidiary bodies to allow for an in-depth examination of the state of play on the core issues on the conference agenda. And let me therefore pay tribute to the work of the Chinese presidency in preparing the ground for this important step. But Your Excellencies, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, it is down to all of us. It is down to each and every nation to make this mechanism productive and approach the challenges we face, the problems that confront us, with an open and constructive attitude. And let me assure you finally of this. The United Kingdom and our delegation will always seek to support the work of this important conference, and we will continue to support the work of the 5 coordinators charged with that task in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señor ministro. Voy a suspender la reunión para darle la despedida al señor ministro Lord Aham del Reino Unido para darle la bienvenida al señor, a su excelencia, el ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Grecia, el señor Nikos Dendias. El señor ministro de Grecia no alcanzó a llegar, ha enviado un video que veremos en este instante.
Madam President, I would like to congratulate you on the assumption of the presidency of the Conference on Disarmament. The complex global security environment has become increasingly volatile. It is also fragmented with multiple crises. One cannot but refer today to the most severe security challenge the European continent is facing in Ukraine. The military attacks against Ukraine gravely violate fundamental principles of international law, starting with the United Nations Charter. International humanitarian law is seriously challenged. I would like to refer particularly to the brutal attacks against civilians in Sartana and Bugas villages in the wider Mariupol area. So far, it caused the death of 10 civilians, members of the Greek community, and many injured, including children. The attacks in Ukraine must stop immediately. It is also of vital importance that the safe and secure operations of the nuclear facilities in Ukraine are not affected or disrupted in any way. It is equally important that disarmament conventions and treaties are upheld. Cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns should also stop. We stand ready to do our utmost to contribute to all efforts for de-escalation within regional and international fora. The events in Ukraine concern the entire international community. Each and every one of us should work towards the direction of de-escalation, but also by making sure that these events will not be repeated in the future. Greece believes that a treaty-based and legally binding arms control system can provide security reassurance to all state parties, a system consistent with the principles of international law. To that end, the role of the Conference on Disarmament is becoming more crucial than ever. In this regard, I would like to congratulate the current and previous presidency for the adoption of a program of work for 2022. A breakthrough reached only a few days ago after many years of stalemate. This will allow to address both traditional and new challenges. Challenges as the cessation of the arms race, including in outer space, nuclear disarmament, new types of weapons of mass destruction, radiological weapons, and other types of lethal devices. Madam President, we took serious notice of the statement delivered by the permanent members of the Security Council on January the 3rd, 2022. It affirmed that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. We consider this statement as a starting point to address the very complex disarmament agenda, especially in the light of the current announcement and developments in Ukraine. It could also serve as a significant preamble to the highly anticipated 10th Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference. Today, the preservation and universalization of NPT and its three pillars are at the core of the global non-proliferation and disarmament architecture. From a national perspective, and given that there are no quick fixes to disarmament, we believe that only through a step-by-step approach we can reach a complete and verifiable nuclear disarmament. An appropriate first step would be the conclusion of the Fissile Material Cut-off Treaty and the universalization of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. As the Ebola and COVID-19 crises have demonstrated, biological threats increase the need for international cooperation. The norm against the use of infectious diseases as a weapon is universally accepted. However, there is still a risk of malicious use, mainly by non-state actors. The next conference, later this year, presents a unique opportunity to further strengthen the Biological Weapons Convention. This in line with recent scientific developments. Madam President, I would now like to briefly turn to an issue to which Greece attaches great importance, the question of enlargement. We are the longest-standing observer of the Conference on Disarmament since 1984. We are of the view that there is no reason to exclude UN member states from disarmament discussions. We should not restrict participation in negotiations on disarmament issues to only 65 countries, especially at a time when global security arrangements require global partnerships. It is equally outdated to hold enlargement hostage to bilateral issues which have absolutely no relevance to the subject matter of the Conference on Disarmament. Madam President, arms control and disarmament emerged during the Cold War period in order to find a common understanding on security-related matters. Today, given the multiple challenges that we face, we need to effectively revive the process for the sake of global peace and security. Greece stands ready, as a responsible member of the international community, to contribute to this process. Thank you.
Muchas gracias al señor ministro de Grecia, su excelencia señor Nikos Dendias, y le damos ahora la bienvenida, suspendo la reunión para darle la bienvenida a su excelencia la señora Ann Linde, ministra de Relaciones Exteriores de Suecia. una especial bienvenida a la siguiente invitada, Su Excelencia señora Ann Linde, Ministra de Relaciones Exteriores de Suecia. Muchas gracias, Excelencia, por dirigirse a la conferencia de desarme. Tiene usted el uso de la palabra.
President, distinguished delegates, the global security environment continues to rapidly deteriorate. The polarization and lack of trust among states has increased. New nuclear capabilities are developed and arsenals are modernized. The integrity of multilateral institutions and the international rules-based order is under threat. Despite this, the start of 2022 saw some positive developments, in particular the joint statement by the 5 nuclear weapon states. The affirmation that a nuclear war can never be won and must never be fought, the determination to strengthen stability and predictability, and to continue seeking bilateral and multilateral diplomatic approaches to avoid military and confrontation was much welcomed. As yet, while we meet here today, the basic tenets of Europe's security are under attack. Russia's military attack against Ukraine is a clear violation of international law, including the UN Charter. Sweden fully supports Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders, including Crimea, as well as its sovereign right to freely choose its own security arrangement. We resolutely condemn the invasion of Ukraine by the armed forces of the Russian Federation and call on Russia to refrain from further provocation, escalation, and illegal use of force, to unconditionally withdraw from Ukraine, to end the illegal annexation of Crimea, and to engage in dialogue with the aim of restoring security, stability, and peace in Europe. Madam President, given the current security situation, the risk of another nuclear arms race or actual nuclear use cannot be ignored. To effectively tackle global disarmament and non-proliferation challenges and achieve long-lasting and sustainable solutions, we must make use of all available multilateral platforms, including the Conference on Disarmament. While Sweden values and remains fully committed to the Conference on Disarmament, it's deeply troubling that this forum has remained in a deadlock for the past decades, unable to adapt a program of work or even a gender-neutral rules of procedure. Political will is needed to allow the CD, the world's single multilateral disarmament negotiation body, to fulfill its purpose. It is therefore with cautious optimism that Sweden welcomes the decision by the conference to establish subsidiary bodies. Sweden urges all states to contribute to breaking the current impasse and allow the conference to advance on substance. Madam President, Sweden has a long-standing commitment to nuclear disarmament, non-proliferation and arms control, with a goal to achieve a world free from nuclear weapons. We look forward to the 10th Review Conference of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The Stockholm Initiative for Nuclear Disarmament is a clear example of how Sweden, together with others, actively seeks to achieve needed progress. The initiative offers concrete and pragmatic measures for advancing nuclear disarmament, allowing for substantial and incremental progress. We urge all states to consider our proposals. Achieving full implementation of all obligations and commitments under the NPT should be of paramount importance to all states. Madam President, the rapid technological development in several fields means that the international disarmament, non-proliferation and arms control architecture faces new challenges. These developments may in some cases lead to positive results, but can also have destabilizing effects on different domains, including outer space. The dual-use nature of many space systems, in combination with a lack of transparency, could increase risk of misunderstanding and miscalculation. This underlines the importance of continued multilateral efforts to strengthen security and prevent an arms race or conflict in outer space. Sweden sees great merits in voluntary norms of responsible behavior as a step to contribute to the reduction of threat and risks, with a view to improve space security and to contribute to prevention of arms race in outer space. This could also contribute to possible legally binding measures in the future. Madam President, the challenges are many and the need for dialogue and negotiation is greater than ever. Will the CD contribute or continue its impasse? Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señora ministra, Su Excelencia Ann Linde, ministra de Relaciones Exteriores de Suecia, por su intervención. Permítame suspender un momento la reunión para dar la despedida a la señora y proseguiremos a escuchar al Su Excelencia, señor Suhail Mahmood, Foreign Secretary of Pakistan. Me perdonarán la combinación de los lenguajes, pero con los cambios de último momento no hemos tenido tiempo de traducir todo al español. Muchas gracias. Veremos ahora el video de Su Excelencia, el ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Pakistán, Su Excelencia, señor Sohail Mahmood.
Madam President, let me start by congratulating Colombia on assuming the presidency of this conference. We commend China for its skillful and successful leadership. Thanks to China's able stewardship and flexibility demonstrated by all members, the CD has finally succeeded in breaking its long-standing impasse. Madam President, Pakistan attaches high importance to the Conference on Disarmament as a vital organ of multilateral security architecture. With the adoption of a decision last week, the CD members have an important responsibility to realize the raison d'etre of this body, that is, nuclear disarmament. The effectiveness of the CD is a function of the global and regional security environments, shaping the threat perceptions and policies of its members. Therefore, the CD's measure of progress to negotiate any arms control instrument is dependent on its responsiveness to these external conditions and fundamental national security concerns of all states. The rules and methods of work of this conference remain sound. This body has to its credit several landmark arms control and disarmament treaties with the same rules and methods. The successful conclusion of these treaties owed primarily to the conduciveness of the global security environment and security interests of state. The drivers of CD's deadlock lay in the external strategic environment, its regional and sub-regional impacts, and the effects of partisan policies on the fundamental national security concerns of states. Madam President, today we are witnessing a fragile international security environment marked by growing political and military tensions in various regions. New geopolitical alignments are being shaped. Adherence to long standing arms control agreements has eroded. There is steady uptick in arms races across various domains in several regions. Military expenditures have exceeded that of the Cold War era. Many states continue to pursue policies of waivers and exemptions in violation of established global norms. Discriminatory application of rules is gaining ascendancy. We are also witnessing a race to develop and deploy new technologies and weapon systems, militarizing the outer and cyberspaces. Military applications of artificial intelligence and quantum computing are leading to more lethal methods and tools of modern warfare. Lack of seriousness on the part of leading technology holders to control and regulate military use of the new technologies will likely enhance reliance on nuclear deterrence. The CD cannot and should not remain oblivious to these drivers of instability at the global and regional levels. This body must deal with both the existing and emerging risks. Madam President, strategic stability in South Asia remains under serious strain. Discriminatory application of non
como el estándar internacional de no proliferación nuclear. Confiamos en que pronto fructifiquen las negociaciones sobre el acuerdo nuclear con Irán y que éste pueda volver a aplicarse plenamente como mejor garantía para prevenir una carrera armamentística en la región. Este año se celebrará la conferencia de examen de la Convención de Armas Bacteriológicas y Toxiquímicas. La pandemia ha dejado patente nuestra vulnerabilidad ante ciertos agentes biológicos. Debemos avanzar hacia un protocolo jurídicamente vinculante que establezca un mecanismo de verificación eficaz. España seguirá respaldando plenamente la labor de la Organización para la Prohibición de las Armas Químicas. Quedan importantes retos. El uso de armas químicas en el conflicto sirio o con fines de asesinatos. No podemos tolerar el empleo de estas armas prohibidas. Los responsables de su uso deberán responder ante la justicia. Debemos preservar el espacio exterior como un entorno pacífico, seguro, estable, protegido y sostenible, en beneficio de todos. España participará en el grupo de trabajo de composición abierta, contemplado por la Resolución 76/231 de la Asamblea General, para avanzar en la definición de comportamientos responsables y reducir las amenazas en el espacio. España impulsa la universalización del Tratado de Comercio de Armas y ejerce como facilitadora en su grupo de trabajo por una aplicación más efectiva. Pondrá asimismo su experiencia al servicio del grupo de trabajo de composición abierta sobre municiones convencionales, contribuyendo a una mejor gestión de estos materiales. España abraza la causa del desminado. Muestra de ello es la labor del Centro Internacional de Desminado de Hoyo de Manzanares. Participamos también en los órganos de las convenciones de minas antipersonal y de municiones en racimo y presidimos este año la reunión del Protocolo V de restos explosivos de guerra. Sigamos fomentando esta herramienta para contribuir a la consecución de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible en multitud de comunidades en el mundo. Nos felicitamos por la designación de un nuevo presidente del Grupo de Expertos Gubernamentales sobre Sistemas de Armas Letales Autónomos. Esperamos que contribuya a definir un marco regulatorio sobre su despliegue y uso, satisfaciendo las exigencias del derecho internacional humanitario. Querría destacar la importancia de los regímenes de control de exportaciones de equipos y tecnología militar o de doble uso como medio para evitar que caigan en manos indeseadas o exacerben conflictos. España participa y participará en todos ellos, aplicando sus directrices y contribuyendo a capacitar a